Hi, I'm Langy, and today I wanted to talk about these. This is everything you need to know about my books, the Japanese Language Manual, Volume 1 and Volume 2. But first, a small introduction. Hi, my name is Langy. I was born and raised in America, and I have been self-studying Japanese since 2013, technically. I started off by myself in 2013, and I decided to make it my major when I went to college. But since I'd been studying for about 2 years by that time, I figured it was way too easy, and I needed to challenge myself. So at that point, 2016 came around, and I'm like, well, why not study abroad? So I studied abroad in Japan, and I got my butt kicked. I thought that I had all the necessary Japanese to survive and live in Japan, but when I went down to the convenience store and tried to buy something, I had absolutely no idea what was going on or what the person was saying to me. So I realized at that moment, okay, I actually gotta start studying. And thanks to that experience, I think my Japanese went from this to near native level, I think. I fell in love with Japan at that point, and I knew I wanted to make it my home, so I did the craziest thing and I decided to move here in 2019. It's been a wild ride of mostly downs and negative moments, unfortunately. My god, I've had some insane experiences that I might share with you later on in this channel, but unfortunately, it hasn't been all positive at all. Of course, I've had my ups here, but most of them have been kind of negative and sad and depressing and stuff. But that's life, I guess, especially in a foreign country. One of those negative experiences has kind of forced me to actually create both of these books. I don't really know why. I kind of do. But still, here we are. And now I'm a published author, which is crazy. And I'd like to share both of these books with you today. I have three main things I want to share with you today. What makes my book different from other textbooks? Oh, you're going to love this. The structure of my book, and just how much hard work I've put into making it. Because, oh my god, I look back at that and I realize I'm probably insane. I shouldn't have done that. So let's go. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to really set my book apart from others, and I came up with a really cool idea. A lot of other textbooks out there kind of give you a bunch of random sentences. That's good. Don't get me wrong. They are great. And of course, they are sentences that are probably used in daily life and give you a pretty good grasp of how to use the grammar point. But I wanted to take that to another level. And so I took actual screenshots of my friends' text messages and our conversations, and I used it as example sentences that are sprinkled throughout the book. So for example, here you have the text message and you have kind of like a little reading challenge. It's small. I apologize for that. You can try and read the text message and figure out what it says by yourself first. And then, of course, I go ahead and give you the vocabulary words that are mentioned in the text message. And then I give you the actual text message and the English translation below. I think this approach allows the reader to actually see the grammar in its natural habitat and actually get a sense of how it's used in normal everyday speech, because you're probably most likely going to be speaking Japanese every single day if you're learning the language. And if you ever end up moving to Japan or stay in your home country and continue learning the language, you're probably going to be texting in the language. And so I figured that would be a really cool way to introduce each grammar point in its natural habitat and have the reader kind of figure out what it means through, natural examples such as those. So I really wanted to take a different approach about writing a book in general. Usually books have, perfect grammar, perfect words, sometimes difficult words here and there, and just a certain tone that screams book. And I didn't really like that, especially when I was reading other textbooks and stuff. And I figured, why not make it as friendly as possible? Why not make it as human, authentic as possible? And so I took a very different approach, and I kind of just wrote it as if I was writing a text message to a friend, but that text message happened to be 197 pages. But yeah, it's written in a very, very casual style. I think one of the cool things about my book is that I actually give words of encouragement. So it feels like you're kind of interacting with somebody on the other side while reading it. Here's an example. You've done amazing work. I think this is where your Japanese studies will really take off. Let's begin. So those kind of words of encouragement are sprinkled throughout the book to give the reader a sense of, well, obviously encouragement, and to help them recognize just how much hard work they put into learning the language. And I think that's important. That's something that we don't do ourselves enough. And so I figured it would be a really cool little thing to put in my book so that I can help people out, maybe with their mental side as well. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's really cute and really cool. Another cool thing is that it does not use any complicated grammar specific terminology such as predicate, transitive, intransitive, nominal clauses, etc. When I was studying, I actually had to study those words first to understand what they meant. And then I had to go on and study the actual language. So I ended up studying on top of studying. So I wanted to take that out because it really just confuses things. And I feel like it adds as a little bit of a distraction, actually. And you end up having to study on top of studying. And it could be a little bit of a waste of time. So I tried to make it as casual as possible, as if you're speaking or texting with a friend. I think this part's really cool. It has broken English translations that allow you to learn Japanese in a Japanese mindset. So a lot of textbooks out there, as I mentioned earlier, they have the perfect grammar. You have to write in a certain way so that it makes sense and whatnot. And I wanted to stay away from that. And so I actually made the English translations purposefully broken down so that your brain can do the rest and fill in the missing words in order for you to understand how the Japanese language works as a language. So you have things like the mountain river very pretty. There exist scissors and glue. Time and money necessary. Things like that will allow your brain to be like, oh, wow, I guess you don't really need to say all of these words in Japanese. And so you end up learning Japanese in a Japanese mindset. It's really cool how your brain works and it does all that for you. It just fills in the blanks for you. I really wanted to make it so that the information you read just goes straight in and so it's very easy to comprehend. And so I figured that I would make each and every single title of each grammar point the actual function of the grammar point. So each title explains the function of each grammar point thoroughly so that you can get a grasp of how it's used in that one small title. It doesn't just translate the grammar points into English. That kind of just like leaves the reader confused since there are so many small nuances between each grammar point. And while they may seem like similar if translated into English, they carry very different connotations due to the small nuances. So I wanted to make sure that once you read it, you get it. So you have recall information with dakke. You can kind of get an idea of how this is used with the title. And then it goes on to explain dakke thoroughly, and it provides example sentences as well. All of the sentences that are used in the book have either been drawn upon from my text messages with my friends or sentences that I thought up of. And so you're going to learn a lot of natural sounding Japanese, very, very casual Japanese. Things like iya or like wara wara, like the character for wara, or like, like majide or like yabai. Things that they actually use in natural, real Japanese in every single day conversation. And you kind of won't really find that in a lot of textbooks out there. And I think it's important to introduce that in books nowadays because that's how you actually speak. This is one of my proudest achievements. I think it's actually really, really freaking cool. I invented a never before seen way of memorizing hiragana and katakana. These aren't the full charts, obviously, because I don't really want to leak them all. But when I was studying hiragana and katakana, I used the Japanese flick-styled keyboard. I'll put it up for those of you who don't know. And that saved my life. I was able to test myself on Japanese whenever I went, wherever I went, and it forced me to recall the characters at any given moment, which helped me to memorize them really fast. I think I memorized both hiragana and katakana within a week and a half or something like that. I was constantly looking at them on my keyboard. And I found the keyboard to be very, 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 very easy to use. A lot of people hate it, and I totally understand why. I personally think it's genius and it's amazing. And so I based my chart off of that. I call it the hiragana compass. So you have a in the middle, and then you have i to the left, you have u at the top, you have e at the right, and you have o at the bottom. And the chart follows that direction. So for example, let's take a look at the ga section. You have ga in the middle because it's a. And then if you go to the left, what do you have? You have gi. This is the section with the dakuten on it. And then if you go up, you have gu. If you go right, you have ge. And you go left, you have go. And so it kind of like forces you to memorize the direction. And I think that'll also help because you won't have to look at a confusing chart of different characters as if it's like a math problem. All you got to do is remember, oh, the left side is E, so it has to be an E sound. The top is U, so it has to be an U sound. And of course, I provide the different consonant and vowels here so that you can get a sense of what hiragana you're actually learning. This is crazy. This took me like a week or something. I don't even know. A long time to make. You have an original story made by me, yours truly, oh my gosh, that uses, at the end of volume 2, and it uses every single grammar point that I've covered in both volume 1 and volume 2 in a story for comprehension purposes. So you can read the story at the end and see if you understand everything. If you have, then yeah, you've got the Japanese language down. You're fluent. You can move on to greater heights. You can move on to maybe N2 or N1 if you want to become the president of Japan. But yeah, it provides an awesome story. I really like it. I think it's a cool story. It tested my writing skills. I've never ever written anything in my life, let alone in Japanese. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I think it's a cute little story. It's not cute. Sorry, it's not cute. It's actually like crazy. Like, oh my God, crazy. But yeah, you can go ahead and read it and see if you understand it. I like it. It's actually crazy. しかしってどこまで大丈夫なのって。だから相当やばい。I also want to talk about the structure of the book because I think it's really cool. I like to call it a one-dimensional structure due to how straightforward it is. There's no fluff, such as cultural insights or did you know sections. It goes from one grammar point straight to the next. That's why I'm calling it a one-dimensional structure. This allows you to truly study at your own pace, without any distractions or confusing extra information. As you can see, my book is very, very colorful, including the cover. I think it's cute. And you have each grammar point highlighted so that you can actually get a sense of where and how it's used in a sentence. So it actually layers upon each grammar point and sometimes introduces grammar points covered in earlier sections to test comprehension skills of multiple grammar points in one sentence. You can kind of like review while actually learning at the same time. I think that's pretty cool. So for example, 彼は金のことばっかり考えてるけど大丈夫かな?最近ずっと仕事しているから心配だよね。So you have like the wa particle, obviously, and then you have bakari, which is a new grammar point being introduced, and then you have the te iru form, which is the continuous state form, and then you have kedo, which is the contrast, and you have kana. So it's kind of like a string of all the other past grammar points in one sentence, so you can test yourself. Good luck. So how long did it actually take to make these? The total time it took me to make these is 2 years. I said 12 years in the title because I've been studying for about 12 years. And if I had made this maybe 5, 6, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have the confidence to make it or the knowledge to make it or the experience to make it. So all of those 12 years combined up until now is what helped me create this monster. I don't think I'm ever going to be doing this again though. Oh my gosh. In order to write this, I basically had to relearn the entire language, which was one hell of a pain in the booty. Oh my goodness. I would get home from my full-time job, mind you, I have a full-time job in Japan, and I would research and write the book for about 2 to 4 hours every single day. And then I would seclude myself in the library and write for about 6 hours, almost every single weekend. I had to stop at 6 hours because I knew that I could do more, but if I were to do more, I would probably burn myself out down to the ground, and that would be disastrous. So I set an alarm and a timer, and I had to quit at 6 hours because there's no way that I'm going to be doing more than that and sacrifice my health for this. I also designed the cover by myself. This is what the first original cover looked like. It was very bland, boring and kind of random, and I like color in my life, so I figured this needed more color, and we went from this to this. It took a little bit of work, but I kind of knew what I wanted to put in the cover. So you have the hiragana, katakana, kanji, because obviously it's the first volume, and you go over the 3 scripts and you kind of go off from there. Oh, sorry. For the first volume, you have the kanji hi, because it's the first kanji of Nihongo, the Japanese language, and it's the kanji for sun. And since Japan is the land of the rising sun, I figured that I could kind of just tie it all together with that one kanji. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, it took a lot of work, but in the end, we're doing great because I just sold 104 books in 1 month. That's because I went viral, but still, thank you so much. Thank you so much for investing in your future self, and thank you so much for supporting me. I will go ahead and link the book down below. I think you guys are going to love it. If you're studying Japanese and would like a good resource, this is the one for you. I think I'd like this channel to be a workbook channel. I'm going to put a lot of quizzes, lots of cute little quizzes and stuff that are based off of my book. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry it's a little bit of a rushed video, but I hope you enjoyed my introduction to the channel and myself and everything. I hope you have a good time studying. And yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. Studying Japanese is very hard, but I think you could do it. If I did it, you could do it. If every single other Japanese person did it, you could do it too. So you got this. It just takes time. You gotta allow yourself to breathe and experience that time as it flows. So yeah, good luck with your studies. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.